Pam Bondi just got busted because one of her lackeys was caught on camera saying that, oh, they have a plan when it comes to the Epstein files. They're just gonna redact all the Republicans and leave the Democrats out. Take a look.
Do you think like the stuff with Epstein will actually get released or not at all?
If it does, it'll be heavily redacted and his name won't be in it.
Or those files do exist?
There's files,
Yeah.
for sure. There's, thousands and thousands of pages of files. But again, if they're released in any way, it's going to be very redacted. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files, leave all the liberal Democratic people in those files, and have a very slanted version of it come out where it's like, look at what he's doing without releasing any of their bad behavior.
So a couple of interesting things about that. One, that's not just some rando speculating about what they're gonna do. You're watching one of those right now. No, this is a different person. This is somebody who's the acting DOJ deputy chief of like operational enforcement or whatever, Joseph Schnitt. And the other interesting thing is that that's a James O'Keefe investigation. You know, the people who like took down Acorn and he gets to dress up in, I don't like he's a pimp or something. Like the only person that loves cosplaying more than Kristi Noem. Well, in this case, they got a conservative appearing to admit that the fix is in. They're gonna redact all of the conservatives. And look, admittedly, they're already a good way there. They've already redacted Trump's name after the 1,000 times or whatever it appeared in there. And so, yeah, they're just gonna, I guess, release the files. There might be some Democrats or democratically linked donors. They'll just protect all the Republican politicians, the Republican donors and all that. And that, I guess, is the plan, I suppose. And so we're definitely gonna discuss that. I want to get Trey in to talk about that. They're gonna like backtrack and be like, nah, that dude's, he's chucklehead. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's the DOJ deputy chief. What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't realize that Tom Segura's brother was that high up in the DOJ personally, but yeah. So I don't know. Like, there's a lot going on here. On the one hand, like you said, he's high up in the DOJ. He's speaking with apparent confidence there and everything. But the whole thing is sort of stained by the source of it, at least a little bit. You know, but it being O'Keefe and their history there, and then the fact that they're even doing that at all because this is the one and only scandal that's kind of penetrated the, the barrier of loyalism amongst the far right, or however you want to put that. So I'm also thinking about just thinking ahead, and if and when that does happen, if they do release them and it is just redacted, every conservative name and Trump's name is redacted, but they release the files, and then the idea that everybody's just like good with that, everybody being like on the right or whatever, is like, see, we told you, nothing but Democrats, like it isn't obvious what happened, might just be the final straw for me. I might show up bald on here the next day from having finally pulled every last hair out of my head if that actually happens. Yeah. Because I mean, when they say redacted, they do mean like just black lines through names and stuff.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't work. But
here's the thing. I mean, it totally would.
Yeah, like, right. I know. Yeah,
why didn't they just do that 3 months ago? Because like there are some conservatives who still do really care about this. A significant chunk of the voters or whatever. 3 or 4 Republican politicians, they're a little bit dicey, but they at least signed on to the discharge petition or whatever. So Massey and Marjorie Greene, Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace. And then in terms of right-wing media, there's nothing actually. There was for like a weekend, and then Trump called them and they all bowed down. And so there are some who want to get to the bottom of it, but that's going too far. They can see that there's a cover up. They don't like it. They're like, hey, for years we've been doing the QAnon thing. Can we be like at least minimally consistent on this? And so they want, I would say, something. Do they demand the full truth, nothing but the truth?
Right.
I don't think so. I think that if they were to do what this guy laid out and just release a couple of interesting names, I think for a significant chunk, that would be enough. And so I don't know why Trump didn't do that. Why is he continuing to attack them for caring about this rather than just give them a bit of red meat?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. When all this was first happening, the video that I made about it for my socials, I said something like, at the time, I was like, I feel like we all know that if Trump could literally just like pull out like a napkin written in crayon, misspelled Epstein list at the top. And it's like Obama's, Clinton's, Rosie O'Donnell, probably not me. And they would all be like, thank you for getting to the bottom of this, sir. We appreciate that. And then they would just go on, it would be that simple. And obviously that's, just a tiny bit hyperbolic, but not much. But yeah, you're right. It would work, and it will work if they ever do it. And I don't know why. The only, isn't this sort of idea that the theory that some people have had is there's some form of like mutually assured destruction involved is the only thing that would keep him from doing something like that. Meaning that like they're not the only ones that have access to this information or something. You know what I mean? Like if you try to do that, you burn us, then we will burn you back, type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely a lot of theories, and it's entirely possible that something like that is out there. But like what he's landed on as the strategy, and we'll show some of his updated communications, Donald Trump, is just, it's the most suspicious possible way to address this. And we've got a lot to get to. I want to give you just a little bit more from that expose. Here's more Schnitt.
Internally, there's a lot of, even within the administration, there's internal conflict.
Oh, okay.
Like at FBI really wants it. Second in command at FBI has been like causing problems because he's like, no, these have to be released.
Yeah. So the FBI wants them out.
Yep, the top two guys that do that.
And Bonnie does it.
I don't know what Bonnie wants. Bonnie wants whatever Trump wants.
Sure.
Yes, but
They visited that Maxwell person.
Yeah.
And also involved.
Got transferred to a minimum security prison too recently, which is against BOP policy because she's a convicted sex offender, and they're not supposed to get minimum security prisons, which is an interesting detail because she's getting a benefit, which means they're offering her something to keep her mouth shut.
Yeah, and none of this looks very good. So he seems to imply there that there is actually a conflict between Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi. And so that definitely stood out. And now after what Trey said, I definitely cannot get past how much he looks like the love child of Tom Segura and Jesse the Body Ventura, I think. But anyway, so yeah, so apparently there's that fight. The thing is, like, that makes her look even worse, and it makes theoretically Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, I guess, look better. Bear in mind, Kash Patel, I have not heard a word out of his mouth in like 2 months that he's pushing for more disclosure. Dan Bongino has sort of tried to imply that he wants to get to the truth, but bear in mind, he didn't like resign in protest or whatever. He's still there months into this cover up. And so, yeah, maybe on some level he wants it to come out, but he's certainly not making that happen. In any event, you're probably all wondering, how did this guy get taped? So what they did was, O'Keefe did the same dishonest stuff that he always does. They set that guy up, Schnitt, on a date with the woman, the reporter or whatever, on the dating app Hinge. He said the comments I made were my own personal comments on what I've learned in the media and not from anything I've done or learned at work. He has no knowledge of the circumstances surrounding Miss Maxwell other than what is reported in the news. And that's possible. He doesn't have to be involved in anything, but like nothing at his job, nothing in the DOJ had anything to do with Maxwell and the investigation. Why is he leaping to the conclusion that they're going to do all of this redacting if it's not based on literally anything? That just seems weird to me. And the DOJ put out this message from him, so you can take a look at it. And it appears that they screenshotted a note that he typed in his phone, and he just barely got it in before his battery died. So this is like the weirdest, least official way to do this, Trey. So I share with you, O'Keefe being involved kind of hurts it because they're super disreputable. But like, I also don't know what the context could be of selective editing that makes it look like anything other than it does right now. So who knows? What do you think?
The only caveat I'll get, I don't know why I'm trying to give I don't want to give anyone the benefit of the doubt. It certainly seems very damning, but like his excuse for it all, or the way he explained it, like, I don't know what that job title means. Obviously, acting deputy chief sounds very high up to me, but I have no idea what his actual job description is or his duties and stuff. And if he works there but isn't actually involved with any of that crap, the idea that guy, if he's on like a date apparently, or he's trying to impress some girl or whatever, that he would, act very confidently as though like he's real plugged in and knows everything that's going on is not, that's not really a stretch that a guy would do that, but it all fits in with what we've all kind of been assuming and thinking anyway, and is definitely very believable, and at the very least looks really bad. So, regardless of the source, because it wasn't James O'Keefe in a dress, and like you said, it doesn't appear to be AI or manipulated or anything. This guy really did say those things. This guy really does have that job. So, that looks bad.
Yeah, well, look, I will say maybe I've done a bad thing. Maybe I've jumped to conclusions based on my desire to believe the narrative that this guy spread. So I know a solution, a pretty easy one. Put out all the files with no redacting. And then clearly that guy will have been wrong. I'll look like a big dumb donkey. Just release the files and it'll clear the DOJ's name. But obviously they're not going to do that.